Protectors of the Grid, Chapter 33. What is going on here? Will repeated the words back to Ben. Go ahead, take a guess. Well, it feels like we're being attacked, but with things like tornadoes and earthquakes, how can those be manipulated? And what Tara and Charlie stumbled onto, well, how can that be anything more than just being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Will held up a palm. Okay, logical question. These things seem outside human control. Let's assume for a moment they are. What if these events are messages? What if the encounter Charlie had with rattlesnakes and Tara had with a mountain lion are ways of imparting the medicine of those creatures? What if they are actually allies now that each of you survived what could have been a deadly encounter? Tara nodded. Every time I get a twinge from these wounds, I feel how lucky I am that the mountain lion didn't drop the fawn in its mouth to come after me. It was as startled as I was. I know that the way to scare a big cat is to appear bigger and louder than you actually are. But, honest to God, it was my mad and my fear that made me jump around and scream. That was exactly the right thing to do. It confused the cat enough that it went with the blood and flesh in its mouth, got away as fast as it could. But it left its mark on you. Yes, and I feel different somehow. Do you know the spiritual significance of mountain lion? As in a totem or ally? I'm not sure. Leadership. By observing the graceful pounce of mountain lion, you learn how to balance power, intention, physical strength, and grace. This relates in human terms to balance of body, mind, and spirit. Cougar and Puma are her other names. Will closed his eyes to find the right words. She never wastes anything. She kills only what she needs. The female lion is the hunter who graces her table in a style like Mother Energy. She's a guardian. Cougar symbolizes your ability to accept and direct the course of power through your life with grace and speed. Since she showed up, it means this is a time you'll learn to move quickly when opportunities show up to change your life. Claim your power. Develop the ability to stalk something you desire and still be open in case something even better presents itself. This is all making sense, Tara murmured. Will continued, his words fire by passion. The energy needs to come from your gut, your body, not your head. Our bodies are very wise, and they are always sending us messages as to what we should or should not do. Tara nodded again. It's only when we try and rationalize all of our decisions and choices that we trip ourselves up and miss the target. Ben huffed. That sounds familiar. Of course, Will responded. We all need to trust what our bodies tell us, even while we run things through our mental databases. Our minds can be fooled, programmed. Our bodies know better. Charlie popped into the conversation. So what about me? What can possibly be good about snake medicine? Your initiation. That was an initiation? Charlie's eyes were big as saucers. Will nodded at her and began again. Yes, your initiation. It's about transmuting poisons, whether they're mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional. The power of snake medicine is the power of creation. It's sexuality, psychic energy, alchemy, reproduction, and ascension, or immortality. The life-death-rebirth cycle is exemplified by the shedding of snake's skin. It's the energy of wholeness, cosmic consciousness, and the ability to experience life willingly without resistance. Percent. It's knowing that all things are equal in creation, and those things which might be experienced as poison can be ingested, integrated, and transmuted if you have the proper state of mind. Charlie looked stunned. Change how you see things. Change how you experience things. This means a lot to me. You know, I don't talk much about home, about India, or my father, or the years I spent learning with my father. Your father? Yes. He was a student alongside Paramahansa Yogananda when he was still Mukunda Lal Ghosh, studying with Swami Yukteswar Giri. Charlie paused, her face soft and light. When he came home, Papa shared with me what he had learned. She grinned. In spite of me being a girl. You know, there are Indian masters who can sit cross-legged outside in a snowstorm meditating, wearing only a loincloth, and in the space all around them, there is no snow. It's all melted. I've heard of Indian masters who leave footprints in solid rock, Tara volunteered. Ben just listened, shaking his head. He was so far out of his league. So do you get the message of snake medicine now? Will asked. There's also Kundalini, which is usually depicted as a snake-like column of energy moving up and down the spine, Tara reminded. And the caduceus, those two snakes curling around each other as they climb the staff, recognized around the world as the symbol doctors use for healing. Charlie picked up the thread. Of course. Snakes crawl on their bellies on the mother so they are the closest to earth, added Will. But in the Bible, snake is evil. The serpent tempted Eve, who then tempted Adam, who fell, and Ben tapered off. A myth? But what about these other ancient stories we call myth? How do you know what to believe? Depends on your perspective, Ben. For me, well, that whole story of the so-called fall does not ring true. I don't buy a religion that blames females for everything awful that befalls the human race, but never comments on the incredibly abominable things males do. That stuff has been used for centuries as an excuse for making women less than and even abusing us. Tara turned defiant eyes on the group. I'm a fan of what Jesus said and how he treated women. The organization that claimed to oversee his teachings, not so much. Seems like they elevated all the systems Jesus fought against and became another version of tyranny and greed. Hey, we're getting off track here now, Will admonished. The other thing we have to address is the question of big natural events like tornadoes and earthquakes. Ben, have you ever tried cloud busting? You mean focusing attention on clouds to move them around or dissipate them? Yeah, Kachi and I did that a time or two. It was fun. I remember one summer that was so dry, there was this big old thundercloud that we tried to call over to Red Fox's pond, which was barely a mud hole at the time. It drifted toward us and hung over that water hole, dumped a load of rain that half filled the pond, then sort of vanished into thin air. Kachi was excited, but I didn't really... You mean, you can actually... Oh, boy. Ben looked thoroughly chastened. Good beginning exercise, Will agreed. Weather is actually pretty easy to change if you do it right. Like anything, though, it's an exercise of power that has consequences. Yeah, like what if some of that rain was meant for someone else who also had a dry watering hole, Charlie piped up. It's best to ask permission before you try to manipulate the elements, Tara interjected. If you get a strong no in your gut, you just don't do it. Who do you ask for permission? Wondered Ben. The spirits of the clouds, the wind, the elementals, sometimes called devas, creative source, your own guides, Tara listed. It's a matter of being tuned into the highest good for all. You don't have to know who. You can feel the answer in your body. Okay, so I'll give you this one. But did we create the tornado and the earthquake? I sure wasn't thinking about anything like that, and they seemed to just happen. Boom, boom. Ben was genuinely curious. Somehow I don't think you created or called that particular tornado or that particular earthquake. My hit is that they were, this time, gifts from the universe to, well, humble you, make you aware how power can be used against you, tune you into multidimensional reality. Harumph! Geez, thanks a lot, Ben burst out. Don't get your britches all twisted. Will admonished. And don't think for a minute that there aren't people who can create the conditions for such natural disasters to happen. This is another area where the military has done extensive research to try to control the weather. They are much more successful than they want the general population to know. Ben shook his head and sighed. Okay, but even so, we're not a threat to anyone. No? You weren't a threat before you acknowledged the potential for the ferry to be used for anything other than the good you intended, and you weren't a real hindrance until you committed to that good. But now that you're waking up, a lot of good that does me anyhow, since there is still that missing piece. Ben looked woefully at Charlie. Charlie, are we any closer? I don't know what to do next. Charlie looked at Will, who held up a palm. Whoa, Ben. We're going to work on that. And we're going to get all the pieces working together. Can't you feel the shift in the energies? Whatever block Kachi and Red Fox used to protect the ferry until you were ready to defend the technology has been removed. Charlie, I think I may have a clue. I've been seeing this image. A device spinning, suspended, that somehow links the minicams to the grid. I think if you and I go over your drawings and we call for the ancestors' help, we're going to find what we're looking for. Really? You think we're that close? Ben looked like he was afraid to be hopeful. You willing to pay for my plane ticket, too? Where are you headed? San Diego. And if that's all it takes to get the ferry working full scale, you're damned straight I'll buy your plane ticket, and whatever else it takes to keep you working. Ben was grinning ear to ear now, like a little boy who just found out Santa might be real after all.